Aloha. Muchidolabata, Talofalava, Halo Ade, Ali, Malolele, Kiorana, Kiora, Iorana, Ulavinaka, and good morning to you. Thank you for making this time, your time, to come this morning for this presentation, in this early morning session, which I'm sure you'll be inspired by our keynote speaker, who I have the pleasure of presenting to you this morning, or introducing to you. But firstly, I'd like to quickly acknowledge the traditional landowners and the spirit of the land, and the warm hospitality that has allowed us to take part in the last couple of days, and for allowing us to observe the traditional protocols. Thank you very much. And again, thanks to the organisers and the volunteers, in particular in the success of this conference, and the participation of the tribal peoples and custodians of culture, the cultural institutions present at this occasion, in this conference. So this morning, I am given the honour to introduce Honorable Ralph Regenvanu, who's the Minister for Justice and Community Services from Vanuatu. And prior to his entry into politics, Mr. Regenvanu served as the Director for the Vanuatu National Museum and Cultural Centre, which is Vanuatu's principal heritage management agency. And he was there for 11 years, from 1995 to 2006. He has degrees in anthropology, development studies and law. Honourable Minister Regenvanu's work had focused on strengthening community participation in cultural heritage management, and at the local and international levels. He is one of the founding executive board members of the Pacific Island Museums Association, and he was also subsequently involved in the committee that drafted the Convention for the Safeguarding of Intangible Cultural Heritage, the UNESCO 2003 Convention, which was adopted by UNESCO in 2003. He also previously served as the director of the Vanuatu National Cultural Council, the board of Vanuatu Cultural Centre, and represented the Pacific region on the advisory committee drafting the UNESCO World Report on Cultural Diversity. He's also an accomplished artist, visual artist, and participated in an artist in residence program at the British Museum in 2006. He was first appointed as a Minister of State in Vanuatu in December 2010, and is the incumbent Minister for Justice and Community Services. He was elected to Vanuatu's Parliament as an independent candidate at the age of 37 in 2008, thus becoming one of its youngest members. He has been hailed for his inspiring leadership, popularity amongst young people, and for being an outspoken critic of corruption in government. He's also received widespread respect for financing important initiatives out of his parliamentary salary, education scholarships for students, small business projects, and for young entrepreneurs, campaigns to clear up Port Vila, and donations to youth groups. And in 2009, the Vanuatu Daily Post described him as part of a new trend of highly educated new Vanuatu politicians to enter into politics. And Australia's Deakin University recognised his leading role in building partnerships between government, research institutions and civil society in Vanuatu. The title of his keynote talk this morning is Getting Cultural Heritage on the National Agenda, a case study from Vanuatu. Ralph, as Minister of State in Vanuatu, will speak about innovative cultural and economic initiatives in his country and the region that attempt to mainstream cultural heritage in national policy. He will reflect on his transition into politics from his past work with cultural institutions and regional and international organisations. Mr. Regenvanu will address a range of challenges that face the island nations and indigenous peoples throughout the Pacific, including issues of sustainability, the promotion of cultural heritage as part of development, and the protection of cultural resources. Ladies and gentlemen, please do join me in welcoming the Honourable Minister, Ralph Regenvanu, to make his keynote address to you this morning. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the conference organisers for the invitation to present this keynote today. It's an honour. Thank you especially to the Museum Studies Graduate Certificate Program of the Department of American Studies and the Director, Karen, for facilitating me to be here. And thank you to the people of this place and the spirit of this place, and I pay respects. I'm here this morning to tell a story I've told a number of times, so I'd apologize to my FEMA colleagues and others who've heard this story before, but with the latest updates. This is a story about how the Cultural Heritage Institution in Vanuatu, the Vanuatu Cultural Centre, with the support of traditional leaders and community activists, has been strategizing to maintain our cultural heritage and the resilience of our communities in the face of pressures to develop, where development means more money and more of the things that money can buy, which necessitate a turning away from culture. While this story is not directly comparable to other Pacific Island countries, it nevertheless reflects the range of challenges that island nations and indigenous peoples throughout the Pacific face. So I was happy to put that map to start so that we can all learn more about the Pacific and what the countries are and the communities that are there. So while this model that I'm going to talk about is not readily transferable, I hope it can serve to inform other cultural institutions and communities of the possibilities that exist for institutions to take social action. So I'm going to present my talk in 3 parts. The first one, I'm going to set the scene, introduce some of the key concepts and issues, and then secondly, I will describe these strategies that the Cultural Centre has developed to attempt to safeguard our living cultures as the wellspring of the cultural heritage. And then thirdly, I'll briefly describe some of the main challenges I'm now facing in government from a macro-national policy perspective. So, setting the scene, that's the Pacific Islands. As a region, it's made up of over 20 states and territories in an area covering half the world's surface. This region is special because it has the highest rate of indigenous people within the national population of any region of the world, and also the highest proportion of land and sea area held under customary or traditional tenure. Traditional ownership of the land, in fact, is enshrined in the constitutions of most of the independent Pacific Island nation states.